We're now going to jump right to the GMFS Mortgage Hotline, and we're joining a victorious head coach, victorious for the 600th time, his 600th win. Coach JT Curtis getting the win tonight. His Patriots get the win tonight over Shaw. Coach, congratulations, and really genuinely appreciate a couple minutes of your time tonight.
Well, it was obviously an awfully good win, but, there's so much credit goes to those kids that were a part of this going all the way back to 1969 and 1970 that laid the groundwork for where we are tonight. And the way our team played tonight, I was really pleased with that. Got a chance to get a lot of kids, a lot of experience in the second half. So it worked out really well.
Coach, this is Todd Black. I had the pleasure of seeing some video on Facebook of your grandson, Jackson, and I'm just wondering if you're going to be there coaching him for Win 700. He looks like he can handle the option pretty good.
I tell you what, he is a tough little kid, and he has been around football camp for a long time, and you're right. He came out there and read that outside veer and got it in the end zone, and he was a proud young man.
Well, Coach, going back to 1969, you didn't win a game. You scored 12 points on the season. Next year, you start winning a little bit and get on a little roll. You get 6 shutouts. You win a state championship in 75, the first of 26, if I'm not mistaken. Just take us back in a little time and what your philosophy was and what your beliefs were.
Well, we always felt like that hard work, commitment, not only from the coaches but from the players, that they would permeate one to the other. We did a really good job early on in getting our kids to understand that it wasn't what you did on the field in September, but it's what you did in the weight room and what you did in the off season in January and February and March that allowed you to progress as a player. And I really think that one of the keys to our success is that our kids are really into the off-season program. The lifting, the running, the commitment after school when other kids are going home, they are young men that are willing to stay and do the work that needs to be done, and it pays off for you in September.
Coach, you and I were talking today about you being one of the first ones to buy into a true weight program in off season, and how much is the success you've had because of that. Tell everybody the story you told me today about how you started your weight program and what made you start it.
I was very fortunate, and I just think that football coaches and coaches in general have such influence in the lives of people. And I was fortunate to play for a guy named Frank Boyles, University of Arkansas, and he was a guy that was ahead of his time. And so he introduced a weight program, isometric weight program that we used at Arkansas. And when I came to John Curtis in that first year, in that first off season and through that summer, we knew we had to get a weight program going. And to be honest with you, we had just the regular old barbell weights. We didn't have any Olympic weights, and I didn't have a lot of weight. And so I went out to a junkyard and bought some flywheels. And we labeled them 31.5 pounds, 37 pounds, 36 pounds. But the interesting thing was the kids lifted them. I didn't tell you this story today, but you're talking 1969, 1970, and some people at that time still didn't believe in weights. And I had a dad that didn't want his son to lift. He said, I don't want my boy to lift. I think that's bad for him. So I said, okay. I said, I'll put him into a push-up routine, and I got him into a push-up routine. And, he was repping out 50, 60 push-ups pretty well. And so I said, you know what? Let me put this weight on your back, Alan. Never thinking that it was a flywheel that had all those grooves in it. And when the poor kid got up doing his push-ups, he had the impression of the flywheel all across his back. and the coach looked at me, and I looked at him, and I just said, shh, don't say anything to anybody.
Struma was the first. Struma was probably the first one back in the 50s with Billy Cannon and my grandpa and all those back then. And John Curtis was probably the next one to really buy into the weight program. in
Well,
high
we
school.
weren't far behind him. And I told you today I had such admiration for Alvin Roy and what he did and how he introduced how weightlifting was not muscle bounded, and that was the stuff you had to deal with it. It's going to tie your muscles up and you'd get muscle bound and you wouldn't be able to run or wouldn't be able to be an effective player. But he was a leader in the weightlifting community, and we are using all of that still today. The things that he implemented back in the 50s are still being used today and used extremely well.
We're speaking with John Curtis, head football coach JT Curtis here on Louisiana Prep Scoreboard. Coach, over the course of your career, there's been so many things over the decades that have been, I guess, avenues where players' attention can be diverted. We know certainly over the last 20, 30 years what social media has done, things that just can capture their attention. Yet you've always been able to get the most out of your players, reading quotes from former players and assistants that'll run through a wall for you. What's been, I guess, the overriding theme as to why you've been able to connect with players, through different eras?
I think there are a couple of things. Listen, I get the question all the time, how different are players today than they were 30 years ago, 40 years ago? To be very honest with you, they're not different. Their needs, their wants, look, they want to know that you love them. They want to know that you're going to discipline them, and they want to know that you're going to teach them and that all of that means you care about them. And I think that that's a key. I think players need to know you genuinely care about them, not just as a football player, but as a person. And, I'm fortunate to teach at a school that emphasizes moral and ethical values and relationship to God through Christ, and all those things, I think, permeate into the program and have kids understand that we care about them, genuinely care about them. And when you put that combination together, they'll go through a wall for you. And I'm really proud that our guys have done that through the years.
Well, Coach, we know you got a busy night getting prepared for your show, but we wanted to reach out to you. 600 wins. Wow, what unbelievable. And hopefully there are plenty more. And John McKissick, 621 wins out of South Carolina is all time. This puts JT at number 2. And we hope to have you on when you get 622 also, Coach, 'cause I know it's coming.
If that's the deal, the good Lord grants that, I'll be more than happy to do it.
Absolutely.
Coach,
Thank
we
you,
really
Coach.
appreciate your time so much.
All right, buddy. Good night.
There you go, head coach JT Curtis.